Hello, everyone. So last night, I shared with our Beyond Meditation family and the Ask Me Anything group that 2023 is the year of illumination. So just like 2022 was the year of rejoicing, 2023 is a year of illumination. It's actually a year of illuminating. So that's like a present continuous tense, if you like. So it's like an ongoing thing. And I will be talking much more about what those energies are, how you work with them as we progress. The intention of the Pearl of Wisdom today is to anchor the illuminating vibe and process, as well as to get each one of you that is here to get a move on and start making progress in this from now on. We have a calendar year from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. However, there's an energetic year, which varies from year to year. The 2023 vibe of illuminating begins on the 6th of January, 2023. So you have between now and the 6th of January as a time that you can anchor illuminating and start working with this Pearl of Wisdom as you make progress so that you actually have a head start when we enter 2023. It also is a very special time for me to be talking about this because, this is the time where we celebrate the Festival of Lights in India. And I was sharing with Catherine earlier on that my work base, I have shifted to be India, at least for the next 12 months. And home base remains Dubai. So it's like at night when I go out and walk around, it's like walking in Wonderland with all these amazing, amazing lights, a little bit like our Christmas in the West. So I'm surrounded by a variety of illuminating supports. So I'm just going to turn off WhatsApp. Okay, here we go. So let's look at the 7 pathways to illuminating. Let's first engage with what illuminating itself is. It's not, illuminating isn't being lit up, even though we use it like that. It really is something that is educative, enlightening, informational. It's informative. It's sort of instructional as well. There's an insight, it's insightful. And all of these come together to have us, like, it literally shed the light on something. It could be an issue, it could be an experience, it could be ourselves, it could be a situation. And the interesting thing is, each one of us, we literally are a speck of light. And the speck of light is a speck that is from our Creator. So each speck of light has all the prowess that the Creator has. So we have that illuminating light within each one of us. So anytime we are, bugged by any particular question or anything at all, we can tap into that inner light of ours. You have infinite capacity of illuminating anything that you may feel stuck by. It could be that there's a project that's going on and it's stuck. Or it could be that there's a health issue that you've got and nobody seems to be able to resolve it. Tap into that illuminating light that lies within you. People often say, well, how do I do that? It isn't actually a complex process. It literally is, you can close your eyes and literally just say, show me the light. Just that phrase. And through that light, it'll be as if you're shining the spotlight on that which you're seeking an answer. And you will get an interpretation which may feel like a knowing. Won't necessarily be in the form of words or a voice or anything like that. They'll be like, okay, yeah, okay, I know now what I'm to do next or what I'm to be. So that's illuminating a whole year of this. Like literally, how much better can it get? And if you start putting these 7 pathways to illuminating into practice, you already will have a head start. So let's look at the first pathway. The first pathway is magnetic. Having an ability or power to attract. Magnetic also, we sometimes use it, interplate with attractive. To me, magnetic is also magnificent, quite grand, splendid, elegant. To me, magnetic is also majestic, exhibiting or possessing a majesty, sort of nobility. There is grandeur in magnetic. So if magnetic is a pathway to illuminating, the starting point for me always is lay of the land. And the lay of the land here, I say, turn the illuminating light on yourself and look at where you have that ability or power to attract. What about you is uniquely attractive? And always look at the full lay of the land, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and environmentally. Sorry, there's some people in the waiting room, Catherine. So when you're turning the spotlight on you, you're looking at what about me is magnetic? What about me has the power to attract? What about me have others said or given feedback on that is uniquely attractive? What about me do I know as being uniquely attractive? Where I don't have to do anything outside of me, simply show up as me. What aspect of my physical or mental or emotional presence feels elegant? And it's quite exceptional. What aspect of me is quite exceptional? And when I'm exhibiting this power of majesty, how does it feel in my body to experience that nobility, that grandeur? Where in my body do I feel it? Now, once you've done that lay of the land, you've got a pretty good sense of you. I always like to anchor everything in reality so that our mind can really relax and we can go full out there, sharing our presence without even thinking about it. So I go look at, okay, all of these things. I mean, it was phenomenal when I did it for myself. And I was like, wow, all of these things, I never even thought to look. And I absolutely had not taken the time to acknowledge. And when I did, I was so present to, okay, where has all of this shown up? Last 2 years. And I mean, I was blown away with how many times this magnetic illumination of me has shown up. Just in the last 2 years, and so, okay, last 5 years, last 10 years. I went all the way back to when I was 2 years old, you know. And by the time I got to about last 20 years, I was really in a zone where I was allowing the revelations to flow. But I don't believe I remembered many of these incidents until they came through and I examined them and I saw the magic playing out. Even then, even as far back as 2, possibly even just a little bit earlier. So it just got me to see for myself that illuminating I was, I am, and always will be. And I am human, just like each one of you here, listening to me are. So you always were, you are, and you always will be illuminating. Magnetic is real. That is you. And what's more, because we are human, we embody the innate vibration of being human, which is love. And love is an amplifying frequency. So, as a pathway to illuminating, when you first get magnetized to your own magnetism by doing this lay of the land, you acknowledge yourself as a human, receive yourself as a human, accept yourself as a human, and you've amplified. And that amplification chain reaction is like a catalyst that reacts. So reactions guaranteed, and amplification over amplification over amplification starts to happen. The divine connection is illuminating. Why is that? It does amplify over and over, but that's you. You are connecting to the divinity of you, and that is the magnetic pathway that magnetizes you to the divinity of you. And you anchored it and grounded it in real happenings. You know, not everybody wakes up as early as I do. So therefore, sometimes the amount of me time you have is a little bit limited. So you may not be able to go and look at last 2 years, last 5 years, last 10 years. And if you can, do it. Now, I would say take even one incident. Once you've done the lay of the land and identified for yourself and discovered your own unique ability and power to attract, identified what people find uniquely attractive about you, and you are standing in your magnificence and grandeur, feeling the feel of what's exceptional about you, where you exhibit and display that you possess this amazing ability of majesty, honoring your own worthiness. Once you get all of that and you start anchoring it, anchor it even in one incident. Anchor it, though, in something that is very real. However big or small it may be, it doesn't matter. I want you to develop this practice of acknowledging and anchoring with real incidents, because that is what makes it real. And when I say it makes it real, it is real. Hey, it's beyond real. But making it real in the context of your mind says, okay, I can relax and you can be fully present in your magnetism, as opposed to your mind with its little voice in your head, the one that says, what little voice she's talking about, that one doesn't need to keep screaming anymore, saying, hey, get over yourself. Doesn't need to say anything. It will just allow you to be present. Magnetic is a first pathway. And with illuminating, each pathway is whole and complete. You don't have to walk all the pathways. And if you do, walk them in the sequence. I walked them because I was going to share this with you. So I wanted to get the feel of what each pathway's experience is like. This one, I mean, each one is illuminating. Magnetic, is, to me, it was anchoring. It literally anchored me. It's as if I laid down the roots of my majesty and my grandeur. That my trunk was strong and I can now amplify. I can now amplify without worrying about any boundaries or borders. And because you've already identified magnetic, there's no fear of doing anything that would be something that would be depleting of anyone else or hurting anyone else. You remain in your majesty. Let's look at the second pathway. The second pathway is instructional. This pathway is instructional. So it's as if as you are experiencing aliveness, as you are experiencing living your life, you are instructing yourself. You become your own teacher. It's as if you provide your own direction and you harness your inner core to get discipline. There's lesson after lesson that you can distill from any and every experience you have ever had. Illuminating keeps you bubbling, joyful, youthfully engaged in the school of aliveness. And it's interesting, when I did this work, I sort of became an apprentice of I began as a student of the School of Aliveness. And as I put this into practice, in no time at all, it was like I was the apprentice of the teacher in the School of Aliveness. And I was the teacher. I was also the student and I was also the apprentice. Quite enlightening, actually. Very educative. Sort of edifying of that which I would say was a discovery of my own worthiness, which is dignity. So how do you go about working with this? This was a little bit of a complex one. So I'm now sharing with you a way in which you can work with this. So the easiest access to the instructional pathway for you is to look at, I love the going through in 5-year phases. So look at the last 5 years and identify times and moments where you may have received feedback from people where they felt as if they learned something from you. It may be big, it may be small, but you've had this feedback. It could be your children, it could be your friends even. It doesn't matter. I'm not talking about strangers necessarily, and it could be strangers also. Like just literally, I want you to reconnect to that feedback of, I learned something from you. Because the point I want to get across when I say, you always were illuminating, you are, and you always will be. The point I want to get across is we always have been walking the instructional pathway. Even that little grandbaby of mine that I've been sharing with you all ever since he was born, I mean, I see him, he's walking the instructional pathway to illuminating himself. My daughter-in-law just shared a little video of him where he's learning to eat with a fork and a spoon, not a knife yet, and he's 18 months old, so he's still tiny. And my God, he is so focused. And he's instructing himself. He's not wailing if the piece he's trying to hold on the fork falls away. I mean, it was so exciting to say, wow, evidence. This is so not just for me, it's for everyone. I mean, you are the company you keep. Doing this illuminating pathways got me to see how special I am. And by observing others, like this little grandbaby of mine, I can see that everyone has that unique speciality in them. And we are hanging out with each one of us who are so special in an illuminating way. How cool is that? Like literally, how much better can it get? And the interesting thing is, like I've moved my work base to India. And it takes me back in time. You have people who come and work with you, look after the house and do the cooking and a whole variety of support system that exists of people completely in service of you. And I'm like preparing for our Pearl of Wisdom. And I'm just noticing, how wonderful each one is, how special. This young girl who's come to work for me, she just had a really difficult time in her marriage, where her father-in-law was, you know, was being inappropriate with her, and her husband wouldn't believe it, so she left, very young. And it's as if this woman just suddenly, has developed such a profound sense of presence, of courage, of taking that step forward. And like she was sharing the learning. I'm always curious. So I was saying, well, what did you learn from that? She had like no remorse, nothing, no regret. This occurred. She was disappointed. It occurred again. Then she was upset, angry. It occurred again. And she was like done with it. Out she went. And she went back to the work that she was doing before without feeling, oh my God, poor me, I thought I had escaped this. No, she was here. So there's, like each one of us, she's as special as I am. Literally no difference. She's got so much, even though her human years are quite much less than mine. I just see the depth of what she has learned through the experiences that she's had in this short life of hers. And what is exciting for me is how she's teaching herself and learning herself as she's going along with it. Such an evidence that we are always 100% walking the instructional pathway anyway. Let's just get conscious about it and let's just apply it to illuminating ourselves. Like literally every step you take becomes an enlightening one. And with every step, the more you get enlightened, the more awakened you are. The more awakened you are, the more you start seeing the world in a 360-degree perspective. And you can actually look at the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful without any of them or either of them getting you out of your center. Because you can get overwhelmed with upset or frustration or grief, or you could get overwhelmed with over enthusiasm. Either of those takes you off your center, and the world doesn't benefit from the impact you could be having. Being able to observe is what this instructional pathway is actually about, whilst learning and having the rigor and discipline to implement what you've learned. The third pathway. This one, it took me a while to understand. I see it, though in the context of what can one do to walk this pathway, it was a little bit more complex. The word is nimbus, Nimbus. And it is often used in the context of that bright cloud that surrounds images of gods and goddesses. So for me, I went straight into, where has this bright cloud ever been captured in photographs of me? And it sounds like so weird, all this examination on each of the pearls of wisdom. I always ask you to focus on you first, and I do this for a reason. First of all, we are so uncomfortable acknowledging ourselves at a level of depth in terms of what it is that we possess that is so beautiful and so special. And certainly doing it over a sustained period of time, like you do with every pearl of wisdom. If you take it on, you're going to go through those 7. Even if you did them super fast, it is still going to be no less than 7 minutes. Very rarely do we spend that amount of time purely acknowledging ourselves. When you do that with yourself, you are honoring your worthiness. And that is one of the 3 things you are born with, which is dignity. So examining, where have this bright cloud showed up in my photograph? So sometimes you do capture. Many of you have already done it. When you've done it in your own way, and you've certainly, as you've interacted with me, you started capturing what we call as light orbs in photographs. You don't see them with your eyes, but when you take a photo, you capture them. And I have to say, I was so shocked at how many places I have seen this bright cloud surrounding me. Well, I may be a god or a goddess. I may have those prowesses, but here I'm a human. And I'm showing up as that. So the same, if it is available to me, it's available to everyone. It's just a matter of acknowledging that you are the essence of our Creator. You have this inner illumination that automatically creates an energy field around you, which is sometimes referred to as an aura, but what I'm talking about is actually even beyond that. That literally, it's as if you have your North Star and it's illuminating you all the way, and it is your light, not light of another star system. We are star beings. Now, having done that, examined it in a very physical way, I'll share a couple of photos in Beyond Meditation where this crazy light was captured in photographs. So then I worked with, where have I found myself operating from a state of knowing, where I just knew. I didn't know why, I didn't know how, I just had a knowing and I acted on that knowing. Where has that occurred? Now, there were so many of these results I found from my corporate life. A time where I thought I was disconnected from all this EBGB stuff, I used to call it. And talk about operating from knowing, some of the biggest impact and biggest differences I've made in corporations where I'm working with the top echelon of a Fortune 500 company has come from, this is where you intervene and there's no logic to it. There is a knowing. So it doesn't matter if my conscious mind is super busy or just, spinning in a very tactical realm. I always have access to this nimbus ability that exists within me, that captures like a divine knowing. If I had it at a time where I was not connected to, there was no meditation, there was none of that in my life, I still had it and I still operated from it and implemented it and saw the difference. You have it too. The main thing is when it occurs, we don't necessarily take it on and implement it. We may notice it and not say anything about it. Further down the line, when it happens, we share, oh, I actually knew about this. Or we may not even share. We may just say to ourselves, well, I knew about this. I'm saying to you, tap into that inner knowing and implement it. The sharpening stone for that inner knowing is implementation. And what are you implementing? The godliness, the divinity that is natural to you, and it is naturally you. It is an illuminating pathway. The fourth pathway. The fourth pathway is abundant. What in you that is illuminating exists in abundance, is available in large quantities to such an extent that you can generously share it around. I can give you one input into that each one of us has, and it is our aliveness. Whatever you may choose, however you may choose to experience it, the fact that you are going beyond just breathing in and out, you are engaging in something. You have a humongous, ever-growing dollops and dollops and dollops of aliveness. If you become consciously aware of it, the pathways you use to experience that aliveness will also be worthy of sharing. And this is the one that all of us have infinite quantities of. And it is the spirit of you, your spiritedness, the one that actually makes you feel alive. And when you are connected to the spirit of you, you automatically connect to the spirit of all living beings, as well as the planet, the projects, the businesses, the ideas. If you feel that you don't quite know how to connect to your own spirit, animals have a very beautiful way of making that happen. And Vince, you know that only too well. For me, what I've done in the past, and I do it even now, horses, 100% results guaranteed. Because a horse will not be still if you are not plugged into the spirit of you. And it is a big animal. Like literally, and be with someone who can work with horses. I'm not saying you go there by yourself to begin with. Now I can go by myself into an arena with a horse. And wherever the horse may be, I just stay there, plugged into my spirit, and the horse does its running around the arena until it taps into my presence, and then it comes to me. The first time I saw it, I was like really terrified at how big an animal it is. And this one, results guarantee, connects you to the spirit of you. So that's the only way you can be in its presence. So this one is, the spirit of you is abundant. Sometimes we hold ourselves back. We want to remain a victim. We want to remain attached to a particular point of view. We dig our heels in and become very stubbornly attached to whatever it may be. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter. And it's difficult to budge us from that position. And really what we are resisting, and it takes a lot of effort to stay holding on to our point of view sometimes, it's only because you're doing something that is completely unnatural to you, which is, holding on to something which creates blocks and boxes the spirit of you. The spirit of you naturally unleashes you. It unleashes you because it is limitless. It is a direct connection to the soul presence within you. It comes with a knowing of limitlessness, indestructibleness. It is the one that gives you the courage to take the steps that you sometimes wouldn't know how to execute, and you still do them because it's called for in the moment. That is the spirit of you. You have so much of it. And the best part is, because it is infinite, it is truly omnipresent for each one of us, nobody can destroy it. Only you can. Only you can put it into a box. Only you can make that box a black box. Nobody can destroy your spirit. You choose that I'm open for damage, and you allow things to come in that damage you. Nothing damages you. Nothing crushes you. Nothing. I'm not saying people don't go through crisis. I'm not saying that people don't experience devastation. They do. It still doesn't destroy the spirit of you. Like this beautiful girl who's working and serving me right now. She was sharing how excited the best thing that could ever have happened to her was she got married. She so wanted to get away from where she was brought up because it was difficult circumstances. And then for her to experience whatever she experienced, and then for her to take that step and come back home and return to the place of, or it is a location of work. She's got me now, but a location of work that she'd worked at before. You could say she would be destroyed and devastated. No, she wasn't. I felt her spiritedness. I mean, she was like, rocking it. Because I gave her the miracle lens and we saw all these amazing things that were there from each experience that she had, that she called as the dirty experience. And now it was an experience, as opposed to one that was actually something that she was embarrassed or ashamed about. Spirit, abundance of spirit, nothing can dampen that. Now, because you have that, you know when you've showed up in your spiritedness, the impact it has on others. It's as if you walk into a room, and we all have that. You're all there, everyone's like serious, and then somebody comes in and suddenly the party livens up. You have that too. Just have to let your hair down a little. Or tie them up if they are too let down. In a loose, lovely, attractive sort of way. There's an abundance of it. It's available in large quantities. The important thing is to become discerning about what it is that you apply the spiritedness to. It's natural to you. You will share it. And you can share it generously. I'm inviting you to share it consciously also. And be aware of the magic it infuses in whatever it is that you share it with. Now, sometimes when it comes to projects or it comes to relationships, you know, we go into a project that we have shared our spiritedness, and it hasn't, there are many others who are not necessarily doing it the way we are, and the project starts to crumble. And we keep going, propping it up in the face of everybody else who may actually be pulling it down. And that starts to deplete life force. So when you are sharing the spiritedness of you, I'm saying to you, you have that in abundance and you can share it. Be discerning about where you're sharing it and what is your cutoff point that you can move away from. Because when you do that, you are illuminating yourself ongoingly. This is a regenerative act. But when you feel that you're actually experiencing drainage, then you've got a leaky tap. That's not serving you. It's not regenerative. Walk away. Walk away from the project, walk away from the relationship, if that's what is happening. Anything that feels depleting of your aliveness or anything that feels exhausting, and every time you've put in the effort, it's gone so far and then becomes exhausting again, examine it and make a choice that continually regenerates the spiritedness of you. It's there to be regenerated. It's a regenerative strategy, but not if you use too much of it on one thing that isn't going anywhere or that is being pulled down by other factors. A number of times, you might have 5 people on a particular project, or 10 people, or 13 people, and one person is like driving it forward. Others are jump on the enthusiasm bandwagon. Really, they're jumping on the spiritedness bandwagon. And then they start getting jaded, they start pulling it down. And this one person keeps carrying it on, until they start feeling jaded themselves. The main thing is it can happen. 1 or 2 people start to become truants. It's okay, they can leave. You can keep going. But the moment it starts to take away that yumminess of smooth flow from you, and it's difficult, your recovery time, it becomes longer and longer, that's the point where it's time to call it a day and move forward. The 5th pathway is thriving, prosperous, growing, flourishing. Illuminating is naturally thriving. Illuminating is a way of, when you are in the space of illuminating, you are beyond survival, like survival is taken care of. Thriving is what occurs. Because when you can't see the way at all, you step into this zone of illuminating, choose one of the pathways and start walking the pathways. I always say, begin with the first one, the magnetic one. By the time you get to thriving, you already are like it's humming. Illumination is humming. And you will start noticing pockets of what exists in your life that really enriches you, flourishes you, and you feel that vibe of prosperity. You feel vitalized. So here, what I do is the thriving audit. I look at here and now. I look at my physical self, physical space, and I look at where am I experiencing growth? Where am I experiencing that I'm flourishing? Where am I actually noticing that I'm in the vibe of prosperity, where multiple aspects of my life are just humming along nicely, money and wealth and flow being amongst them? This is a moment in time audit. This is not going back last 5 years, last 10 years. The way to work with this particular pathway is snapshot in a moment of time right now. And when you see there is so much there already, right now, it's a moment in time. In that moment, when you discover, even finding one thing, it's like, whoa, in one moment I found one thing. 1 second has so many moments. There are at least 60 seconds in a minute. Thriving just is. It becomes an isness. And when you're thriving, survival is taken care of. And you feel a sense of abundance. You feel as if lack disappears and dissipates. Right here in this moment in time, here I am, sharing the pearls of wisdom, sharing these 7 pathways. And even as I'm sharing each pathway, I'm actually growing. And I feel a sense where I'm experiencing as if I'm flourishing, with more and more revelations revealing to me about myself, about my life, and about each person with whom I'm sharing, cohabitating on this planet. We literally are roommates, and a room is the planet. And if you've ever shared a room, it's quite an intimate experience. Even if it is with a sister or whatever, it's like you're in the same space. We are roommates. And in amidst all of that, there is this flourish. So I'm like, even just recognizing that we are all roommates and our room is this planet. If you ever get a chance to look up at the sky on a clear night, you will see how many stars and planets there are. How many of these are constellations. And if you've ever had the opportunity to see the Milky Way, I had many, many such opportunities just because I happened to live in Western Australia for a period of time. And the Milky Way was just a half an hour drive away. And you're like, my goodness, this beautiful necklace of white fluffy clouds and sparkles and diamonds and just beaming stone-like structures. Each one of them is a galaxy or a constellation. You're just so present to how much there is for us to feel that flourishing feeling. There's infinite possibility of what's occurring on the planet. Our little, beautiful, handsome, blue-green, elliptical sort of ball is our room. It's no more than a room in the big scheme of things. And we all are roommates. It's an intimate cohabitating experience where each moment we are growing and flourishing. This realization at this level of depth has occurred as I'm sharing it with you. So in this moment, even as I'm sharing one of the pathways, I am growing. I am flourishing, becoming more and more enriched. And if you ever shared a room, whether you like a roommate, you don't like a roommate, you still find a way of coexisting if that's where you're at. And that is necessary. All of us on the planet, that's where we are at. Now we can coexist feeling we have to, we need to, and we can coexist knowing that we're going to coexist. And if I have all of these magnetic abilities and possibilities, so does my roommate. All 8 billion of them. And every living thing that exists on here. The Noah's Ark. It's a thriving proposition, just living our life. It just is. Survival's taken care of. You have to work hard, and you've always had to work hard. You know, you have to work hard to find a way in which I can survive this. Of course, you have to work hard, but that's not natural. You live in a thriving world. Survival's taken care of. Why are you pushing yourself to only be here? That is hard work. When the forces expand you, it's so exciting. Oh my gosh, it's 2 minutes left. The sixth pathway is optimism. By the time you get to the sixth one, you are optimistic, hopeful, like full of confidence about the future or success of something. I mean, it's already occurred. It is occurring as we speak. Engaging only with the future without actually noticing where you are in the present. It's as if the future, which isn't even here, is some amorphous, invisible, untouchable thing. And the best you can do is hope, which has an underlying of worry. What if it doesn't happen? So drop that. If you zoom into now, you already are successful. Now, you may not experience success as you define it everywhere, but there is a success going on somewhere. Acknowledge that. Ask the question, how much better can it get? And let that multiply and find another area where you are experiencing success. This was a great fun one. I mean, optimism is, I'm an eternal optimist, have always been. The way I defined it before was like, being confident about the future. So whatever occurs in the present, it's okay. The future is bright. Now, doing the illuminating exercise, walking the pathway of optimism is not about the future. It really is about right here, right now. This also is a snapshot of a moment in time. So right here, right now, if I was to take this snapshot and I was to examine, where do I feel really confident about something? And it may be your relationship with your pets. Like they are there for you. They show up. They react, respond to what you are giving them unconditionally with no expectation. And they give generously. Everything that Mynoo is talking about, I see them in my pets. And that's okay. And I feel successful in the relationship I have developed with them. Okay, that's great. You've acknowledged something. How does that success that you have just acknowledged, how does that contribute to you feeling confident? And how does that confidence actually play out? You'll find so much richness in just this one examination of a moment in time right now. I mean, when I did this for myself, moment in time, I mean, eternal optimist, all that is there. And I looked at right here, right now, at a point where, I mean, I have traveled the world. I have moved many homes, many countries. It's just been a part of my life for a very long time. So I've actually got the whole system nailed. When I move, the packers and removers, the packing is done in a certain way and the boxes are named in a certain way. All that stuff happens. So when I move, the packers know where to drop which box. They also know where to and how to unpack them. Within 2 days, everything is up and running, maybe 4 days. And here I am, this is like the 5th day, and I still don't have an internet connection. And I'm an eternal optimist. Internet connection, for me not to have internet connection is like really, so much of my world happens on the internet that it takes something. And I'm living in a place where you go across this jungle from Delhi to come here. So the telephone signals are very, very tiny, like tiny. The smallest line is what I have. So my phone internet doesn't work at home. So here I am in the clubhouse. So it's like, okay, what do I feel success about right now? And so I was just doing it this morning. It was like, I actually feel the fact that I was able to get the security guard of my apartment block to come and open the clubhouse and open the pantry room for me to be able to do our session because my headphones also got damaged on the flight here. So I don't have headphones. Everybody will be listening to me talking aloud. I actually feel quite successful at having done that. And literally all it needs is one thing for you to pick. And then you just go, how much better can it get? And you'll start seeing so many things that'll start to suddenly you'll become like a deluge of what feels successful about you. The 7th one is laudable. Laudable, illuminating. And laudable, the 7th pathway is deserving praise and commendation. Oh, what a fabulous pathway to walk. With every step you take, what is here in this step that I've taken? What deserves praise and commendation? I mean, it's like, I love doing this. I have so many people that are coming. This is an apartment block that has been in existence, but for some reason, my apartment, I'm the first person to move in. It's a brand new one, which is great. However, lots of little nuances need to be tackled. So from the gas man to the electricity man, to the carpenter, to the plumber, to the internet guy, everyone was coming one after the other, and I was practicing away laudable, noticing what's deserving of praise and commendation in this guy who's getting my gas cooker fitted. And I would share it with him. He would be like, oh, this is my Diwali gift. And I would do the same thing with this plumber. And he just like, as if the floor disappeared. And he just sat down and he sat on my sofa. And then he said, oh, I'm so sorry to sit here. He wanted to sit on the floor. And I said, hey, come on, sit there across me. And he was like so taken away. Now we can all do this. Because there is always something deserving of praise and commendation. Every time. And if there is nobody else around you, what about you? What about the space that you're in? What about the chair you're sitting in? It's always deserving of praise and commendation. What if you just took one day and decided every step I take, every breath I take is going to be a sharing of praise and commendation to someone, and that someone may be me sometimes. Go for it. Illuminating results guaranteed. Have fun with it. Can you imagine doing this every day as we come up to the year of illuminating? Over to you, Catherine. I get very excited about these things.
I love it, Mynoo. I was just thinking we need to do like an illumination retreat.
It's
really so fun. And just thinking about 2023, as well as tapping into the right here, right now. But I just love this Pearl of Wisdom. It's so uplifting. And I already feel like my light is shining just a little bit brighter. And when we realize, when we acknowledge what you've offered here, it just really gives us that confidence to walk just the way we should, thinking that all of everything we need is right here. So thank you for reminding us, and everybody go out into the world and glow, keep glowing. We're all connected. I love that we are all one. And I look forward to seeing you all right here next Thursday for our 83rd Pearl of Wisdom. Oh my goodness.
I love the idea that we are all roommates, in
I
this.
love that. I love it. And this is our home. Yes, it is indeed.
This is our room, not even,
Room.
this is our room and we are sharing it.
What a
So,
glorious idea. It's such a
yeah.
fabulous analogy. Well, thank you all. It's all time for us to leave our room and go to our beds on this end of the world while you guys wake up.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you. Thank you all.
We'll see you next week. Thanks again, everyone.